Thank you. Again, welcome to Linaro Connect. I'm excited to be here as I share Bill's comments. I hope you get a chance to go out and see the city. It's a pretty cool place to be having a conference. So I get to be up here and kind of kick us off with some thoughts, and just want to talk about some of the things that I'm seeing here in the ARM ecosystem of where we're at and what I'm excited about. And I think that it's been a pretty big year in the ARM ecosystem. In fact, looking at what we've got, where we are at, where ARM is, who would have thought we're at where we are now when we started this whole thing 16 years ago, right? When Linaro started, the reason we started, right, everything within the ARM ecosystem needed work. There was so much engineering effort and attention that was needed all the way up and down the stack, from tool chain, the kernel, libraries, applications, how everything integrates together, the process for doing that. And then I look, where we're at now. ARM is now the primary architecture pretty much across the board. We never could have imagined that when we started 16 years ago. So, and this is whether we're talking about mobile, desktop, cloud, edge, embedded server, hyperscaler, automotive, you name it. ARM is the architecture that's getting all the attention right now. Many of you have ARM machines as your daily drivers, whether that's Windows or Linux or Mac OS or some combination of the three with VMs. It's an exciting thing to be part of. And I think that's one of the key aspects is that. All right. So the key aspects is that this is to be part of this community, to be part of what's going on, is the reason that all these things have been able to happen. All this stuff that we've been working on for 15 years is what has enabled where the ARM architecture is right now. So what I'm seeing, when I look at what's happened over the last year, I see signs of why this is such a mature architecture. In fact, let's take a look at a couple of the big events, or a few of them. One is, it's no longer news that all of the major hyperscalers offer ARM instances, right? It's just a given. It works. People are using them. Similarly, GitHub has come along. Last year, they announced ARM runners on Linux, and this year they announced ARM runners for Windows on ARM. And this is, I think, it seems like a small point, but this is monumental because this enables it for the workflow that many, many developers are using for all of their individual projects. And so now that this is available, it's just seamless to be able to make use of it. And then when we talk about AI, can I be doing a keynote in 2025 without talking about AI? Right. ARM is powering the AI revolution, whether we're talking about the machines that are being built out for doing the training, or we're talking about where we're going to be running these AI models everywhere from the devices up into the cloud. And personally, I love this stuff, right? This is, our conference this year, the theme of it is boosting the next wave of ARM innovation. And what has happened, this enablement, the place that you're seeing the large build-out, this is exciting because this enables, whenever we're working on projects, ARM works because you don't have to go and focus on how many different things do I need to go and fix just to get to the problem that I'm interested in solving. Able to use the architecture in solving the problems that you care about and worrying about that while all that infrastructure is in place, ready to go. I think this is why we're going to be hearing more about this. You'll hear more about that from Leonard and from Dr. Xiang tomorrow and on Friday about what it looks like for our software ecosystem. So growth, I think that growth in a software ecosystem like we're seeing right now, another reason this is exciting is that growth in an ecosystem is exponential rather than linear. As we have been working on all the stuff that we have, as it becomes easier to make use of, that lowers the barriers to entry. And when that barrier to doing development on ARM lowers, it doesn't just bring in a small number of more developers, it actually greatly widens the pool of engineers who are able to make use of this. And that's so what we're seeing, and I think we're going to see even greater expansion of ARM. So another thing that that I'm excited about with this is seeing the growth of Windows on ARM. Now we've been working on the Windows on ARM project with Microsoft and ARM and Qualcomm for about 3 years now. And this is, again, this is a lot of the enablement stuff, the stuff that we did in Linux. It's going everything from the tool chain up through the libraries and up to some big ticket items like OBS Studio and Blender. And it's healthy, it's, you know, application developers can use it. But I've actually got a personal story on this one. For myself, I've got something aside from work. I've got a little project I've been working on, which is a plugin for OBS Studio. And it runs on, you know, Mac, Windows, Linux, x86 on all of them. It works on ARM for Linux and Mac OS. But I never bothered to do Windows on ARM. And I thought, I'm coming up here and I'm standing on stage at Connect. It'd be cool if my own project worked on Windows on ARM. Didn't have a chance to spend some time, and I talked to a few people here at Connect yesterday, and they said, oh, go and talk to Anthony. Where's Anthony? He's at the back there. Go say hi to Anthony and have a coffee with him today. I went to talk to Anthony, and he said, oh yeah, I heard about that. I'm already working on it. 6 hours later, he sends me a pull request, and for very little code change, he now has Windows on ARM working for my plugin, which, you know, C++ and a little bit of STL and that. Nothing particularly complex, but for me, in the role of a random Windows developer, this just worked. And it opens up the development environment to a much broader array of developers. So, what does this mean? Does this mean we're finished? Does this mean that all the things that we need to do in the ARM architecture are done? No, I think that what's next, we've got new big initiatives that we need to be worrying about. And I think that's what you'll hear more about that this week. I know that I've already been hearing the conversations here in the room and in the hacking room. And so there's some big things that we're going to need to be paying attention to as a community. So the first one I want to talk about, again, 2025, another buzzword I have to use is CRA. If I don't talk about CRA, it's not a real keynote. We've been talking about CRA, and we've been talking a lot about okay, this is going to change the way we have to do business, this is going to change the way that we have to deliver software. Our challenge now is, what does that mean for our open source projects? What does that mean for all the things that we're working on day to day in terms of the practice, in terms of the way that we work, so that all the great software that we're doing is actually able to be delivered into the products and to the technology that is making use of that. Similarly, as we're in a even more year-over-year, more connected environment, security and of the platforms that we're using is paramount, and the platforms are becoming more complex. So there's innovation that's happening in the architectural features, such as CCA, CCA's 1.0 and 1.1. We're going to need to be making use of that, and that's requiring different techniques, different ways of building systems, different ways of making use of that. Another aspect is the managing and working with the greater complexity. As we build these build systems, the trend has been away from more and more integrated multiprocessor or multi-domain systems that we're building, because we need that for security, we need that for capability and updatability. So this is part of what we need to, as we've got these systems that have these multiple domains, we need to be able to communicate between them. The VirtIO project, now this picture here, this is from Embedded World. We had a demo with Xilinx on the VirtIO message work that we had been doing. And this is about communicating between processors. This demo has x86 and ARM and microcontrollers all using the VirtIO message spec that we've been working on. And VirtIO message has gotten a lot of traction in two domains in particular, in automotive for communicating between the vast array of network devices that are in a car, and also in mobile, in Android, for communicating between VMs and domains. So having this infrastructure, working on this is a big deal for us now. And then there's the big questions about AI. What do we do to actually support and maintain AI on the devices that we are using? In some ways, the AI revolution, right, is happening. All of this interesting models and LLMs and generative AI applications are happening. It's still very much the Wild West of how that actually works, how you land the models on devices and what it looks for different pieces of silicon or what it looks for different parts of the stack. This isn't something I have answers for. There's big questions on how are we going to do this in the long term. And there's a lot of different different parts or ways of going about this that we need to attend to. And figure out how are we going to manage this, how are we going to manage this as an open source community to actually support AI applications. Right, so, I think there's, what are the, oh actually, I'm a little short on time here, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The last thing I want to talk about is there's still room, I think, for big industry-changing initiatives. Again, when we started Linaro, this was the big idea was we don't have to do things the way that we've always done them. We don't have to do all of our embedded devices as fragmented, separate trees, out of tree and unmaintainable. We can have a common software ecosystem. We've got a similar thing that we've been working on recently, which, looking specifically at the edge and IoT ecosystem, of a lot of that is still in the mindset of, if we're building something, we need to build a vertical stack and all the pieces integrated together. And then whoever touches it last ends up holding the bag and they've got to go fix it if something goes wrong. It doesn't have to be that way when we have all the technology in place to separate the platform and the operating system that runs on top of it, and then the applications that run on top of that. And so this is the thing that we've been working on with ARM and Qualcomm and others, of putting in place the methods, the ecosystem, so that platform vendors can produce hardware, OS vendors can produce OSs that run on them, they can maintain them, and that the whole supply chain works like this. And OneLab is the big initiative that is part of driving this, which is creating that testability. Actually going and testing all the work that we've done with System Ready and Device Tree to prove that it works and to give product developers the tools that they need to know that they're going to be interoperable. And so I'm going to stop there. As Bill has said, there is a very packed schedule. There's lots of really interesting keynotes and talks. Enjoy the conference, and thank you very much for your time.